Imagine standing at the absolute peak of a mountain, built entirely out of beautiful lies, looking down at a world that paid for front row seats to watch how you did it.
That didn't just forgive you for robbing them, but actually paid for front row seats to watch how you did it. This is the staggering, almost surreal reality of Jordan Belfort, the man the world came to know and terrifyingly came to love as the Wolf of Wall Street. His life is a masterclass in modern alchemy, a story about a working-class kid who took the grand illusion of the American dream, twisted it into a weapon of mass deception, lost everything in a spectacular blaze of glory, and then somehow packaged the ashes and sold them back to us for a massive profit. It all began quietly in 1962. In the modest, hard-working neighborhood of Bayside, Queens, where dreams usually had a strict ceiling and ambition was measured in steady, predictable paychecks. But even as a teenager, Jordan possessed a predatory instinct for opportunity and a total refusal to accept limits. At just 16 years old, he conquered the scorching beaches of Long Island by pocketing $20,000 in a single summer, selling simple Italian ices, a hustle so lucrative it fully funded his enrollment into dental school. His medical career, however, lasted a grand total of one morning, because the exact
Dentistry
moment
is
the
no
dean
longer a
stood
path
before
to
the
wealth.
lecture hall and declared that dentistry
Get your
was
fresh
no longer
steaks
a
and
path to
seafood
immense
right here.
wealth. Jordan stood up, adjusted his jacket, and walked out the door forever, knowing with absolute certainty that he wasn't there to heal people. He was there to become obscenely, undeniably rich. He immediately pivoted to a chaotic door-to-door meat and seafood business, driving a beat-up truck and pulling in thousands of dollars by sheer force of personality, until the logistics collapsed and left him completely bankrupt with nothing but rotting steaks in his back seat. Yet standing in the wreckage of that first major failure, Jordan discovered his true terrifying superpower. He realized that the product itself never mattered. Whether it was frozen seafood, luxury surfboards, or volatile corporate stocks, because he possessed a rare, almost hypnotic ability to sell the invisible concept of hope to anyone willing to listen. When he finally stepped onto Wall Street in the roaring, cocaine-fueled 1980s, landing an entry-level job at the prestigious firm L.F. Rothschild, he eagerly absorbed the dark mechanics of institutional greed and learned the exact language of financial manipulation. But just as he was preparing to conquer the financial capital of the world, Black Monday struck in October 1987, crashing the global markets, silencing the trading floors, and leaving Jordan abruptly unemployed.
While
the
others
rest of the
mourned,
financial
Jordan
sector
discovered
mourned
penny
their
stocks,
lost fortunes.
carrying a massive
Jordan
50%
looked into
commission.
the gutter of the market and discovered penny stocks, unregulated, illiquid corporate garbage that no legitimate broker would ever dare touch, but which carried a staggering hidden treasure, a 50% commission rate on every single dollar invested. Armed with
Listen
nothing but a
closely to me.
standard telephone,
Ground
a
floor
predatory
opportunity.
smile, and an
10 times
unshakable,
return.
hyper-aggressive script, he began cold-calling ordinary citizens across America, transforming worthless companies into ground-floor pre-IPO technology miracles destined for a 10 times return, effortlessly manipulating a single phone call into a $4,000 payday. In 1989, realizing he needed an army to scale this magnificent illusion, he partnered with a chaotic, fast-talking Long Island hustler named Danny Porish to found Stratton Oakmont, a name carefully engineered to sound like a century-old British institution filled with leather-bound books and generational wealth, though it was actually a chaotic boiler room crammed into a suburban strip mall. Jordan didn't hire Ivy League finance graduates. He recruited hungry bartenders, desperate college dropouts, and small-time neighborhood hustlers,
I hired the hungry
systematically
and
engineering them into high-pressure sales machines using his revolutionary straight-line persuasion system. A psychological pressure cooker designed to completely dismantle a client's hesitation and ruthlessly guide them from an initial hello to a signed check in one continuous, unbroken conversation. The Stratton Oakmont office quickly mutated into a toxic, neon-soaked Roman Colosseum fueled by an addictive symphony of screaming brokers, blasting air horns, custom-tailored Brioni suites, and enough high-grade narcotics to incapacitate a small army. A lawless kingdom where top earners were showered with luxury sports cars and underperformers were publicly humiliated on the sales floor. To sustain this blinding avalanche of cash, Stratton abandoned ordinary deception and orchestrated massive pump-and-dump schemes during legitimate corporate public offerings, secretly buying up millions of cheap shares, using their hyper-aggressive sales force to artificially spike the stock price through coordinated lies, and then dumping their own holdings at the absolute peak, instantly plunging the stock to zero and leaving thousands of working-class retirees, struggling parents, and everyday families completely wiped out. By the mid-1990s, the empire was rotting under the sheer weight of its own excess as investor complaints reached a fever pitch and the SEC flagged their suspicious filings, forcing Jordan to devise increasingly reckless methods to hide his illicit wealth. Millions of dollars were funneled into Swiss bank accounts through a complex labyrinth of global shell companies using physical couriers, including his own grandmother-in-law and a trusted housekeeper, who traveled across international borders with hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash literally taped inside their undergarments. Simultaneously, Jordan's personal life was unraveling in a spectacular drug-induced frenzy, consumed by staggering quantities of quaaludes.
Sail through it!
He famously crashed his luxury Ferrari into a concrete pillar with his young daughter in the passenger seat and, in a crowning moment of absolute hubris, demanded his captain sail his multi-million-dollar mega-yacht through a violent Mediterranean storm, resulting in a dramatic rescue by the Italian Navy as the vessel sank into the sea. Back on land, the walls were finally closing in as FBI agent Gregory Coleman quietly assembled a flawless mosaic of wire records, bank transfers, and internal scripts, eventually cornering Jordan's closest allies, who quickly chose self-preservation over loyalty and agreed to wear hidden wires against their leader. When federal agents finally executed a sunrise raid on Stratton Oakmont, ripping phones from desks and seizing hard drives, Jordan found himself staring down a potential 30-year prison sentence. But true to his nature, he made his ultimate pivot and sold out his entire inner circle, cooperating fully with the government to reduce his sentence to a mere 22 months in a country club federal facility with no fences, no cells, and guards who didn't even carry weapons. It was during this brief stint of playing tennis and lifting weights that his cellmate, the legendary comedian Tommy Chong, 40, heard his wild tales of offshore millions, sinking yachts, and corporate warfare, and gave him the 2 words that would alter history: write it down. Jordan did exactly that, penning The Wolf of Wall Street, a memoir that read less like a somber confession of a repentant criminal and more like a triumphant, unapologetic victory lap through the valley of sin, which a fascinated public instantly devoured. In 2013, the transformation from convicted felon to cultural icon was finalized when Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio turned his crimes into a multi-million-dollar cinematic masterpiece, wrapping his dark legacy in Hollywood gold and transforming a man who stole from the public into a global anti-hero. Today, as the bright house lights dim and the space drops in packed auditoriums from New York to Sydney, thousands of aspiring entrepreneurs rise to their feet in a deafening, thunderous standing ovation, their faces illuminated by the flashing strobes and blinding spotlights of the grand stage. And there he stands, stepping into the center of the arena in a flawless thousands of dollars custom suite, holding a microphone like a scepter, looking out at a crowd of people who are eagerly paying thousands of dollars just to learn the secrets of his hustle. The victims of Stratton Oakmont, the teachers who lost their retirements, the veterans who sacrificed their life savings, remain in the shadows, still waiting for a fraction of the court-ordered restitution that vanished into legal loopholes and offshore trusts, while Jordan Belfort basks in the global warmth of unearned adoration. He didn't just beat the legal system, he successfully commodified his own corruption, turned his prison sentence into a multi-million-dollar media empire, and proved his own dark thesis to be absolutely correct. If you are charismatic enough, the world will not only forgive your sins, they will applaud them. Because deep down in the dark corners of the human heart, the audience never truly wanted to see the wolf caged. They wanted to learn how to become the wolf.